Welcome to the Aligned Powerhouse, the podcast for executive women who are done leading from burnout and ready to rise from alignment. I'm your host, Dr. Brittany McGeehan, licensed psychologist, high performance and mindset coach, and guide for high achieving women who are ready to lead, live, and love without abandoning themselves. Here, we unpack the nervous system truths, mindset shifts, and emotional patterns that drive your leadership so you can build power from the inside out. Let's get into it. Before we start, if you have ever listened to this podcast and thought, I really wish that I could talk this through with Dr. Brittany, I have great news for you, because that is exactly why I built a ChatGPT called Dr. Brittany AI. It is fully trained on my methodology and it helps you think through real situations, real time. So think work, marriage, parenting. It is basically like having me in your pocket. Link is in the show notes. Now, okay, let's get into today's episode. All right. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, guys, today we're doing something a little bit different. So we are going to do a little bit of storytelling today, but we're doing it on purpose. So I have my notes in front of me. And let me just tell you, if you are someone who has listened to my podcast and you have said, okay, all of this is great. And also, what does this look like in real life? What do these concepts of emotional containment, over functioning, like, I don't actually know if this applies to me or not. Today, what we are unpacking is the yours, mine, and ours framework. And we're going to do this with a little bit of storytelling. We're going to have some story time. Okay. And I will tell you, this took a little bit of work for me because by nature of what I do, I am someone who takes trust, especially with my clients, very seriously. The integrity of my work is obviously very, very important to me. And so I've really struggled to bringing client material to me into a podcast is just not an option. And yet what I hear time and time again from my audience is we want to know, what does this look like? Give us an example. And I'll be so honest, usually I show up on a podcast and I just yap. It just flows. I like chatting. I literally get paid to think for a living. Podcasting comes very natural to me. But today we did some prep work, okay? And so what I have done is I've pulled together some composite stories and experiences, and I have pulled a million different examples from my personal life, from my own story, from my clients' stories, and I've changed details. Guys, this is like an elaborate story time. I hope you are prepared, because the amount of effort that it takes for me to pull something together that is going to allow you to see yourself in the material is going to be a reflection, a true, authentic reflection of the women, a plural, like as a whole, that I work with, without actually disclosing client material. One was something that was so important to me, and two, it took a lot of brain power. Okay. So we're going to see how this episode goes. I want to hear from you if you enjoy this type of material. I'm going to be so honest, right? Because like if no one responds, if no one is like, this was so helpful, I probably will never put this much effort into something like this. Again, we're trying new things, but the heart and soul behind this work is that you can take this material and you can do something with it, right? So if you are someone who has sort of been in this space, and if you are someone who consistently finds yourself getting overwhelmed by really big emotions, if you are the woman who feels as though life is kind of just like constantly coming at you, and it's one thing after the other, or no matter how hard you try, you just can't get it right. And this applies potentially to work as well as your marriage. This episode is for you. Okay? Because it will tell you the yours, mine, ours framework is your 60-second breakthrough. And I do mean 60, like this stuff is quick. Once it is integrated, you understand how to use this framework. It is such a quick exit out of drama, out of picking material up that is not yours, that is going to change your life. So, per usual, Like today, especially, if you do not already have a journal, a pen in front of you, if you don't have your note taker on your iPad in front of you, like pull it out, because we are going to really slow down and unpack what this framework looks like. What does it look like real time with real material? And my goal by the end of this podcast is for you to be able to go and implement this work. Okay. So here's what we are talking about today. Here's what I really want you, the big belief, the big core disruptor that I want you to walk away with, right? Is that there's this idea and this notion out there for women in particular, double for mothers, but also double for business owners. And just as women in general in society, we believe that it is our job to care for other people. More specifically, if we are feeling something, it is ours to feel. And this gets really messy, right? Because I'm not telling you don't listen to your body. I'm not telling you to cut off from these very sacred emotions and sensations. But it is simply not true that just because you are feeling something, it is yours to handle and deal with, or that it's yours in general. So I want to explain this a little bit, okay? And then we're going to jump into story time. We're going to call it story time. Emotions are energy. There's a lot of science behind this. We're not getting into that. But I want you to imagine that emotional energy in a home or in a boardroom has a consistency. It has a color. So take a moment and reflect. What is the emotional energy of your home right now? Is it tense? Can you cut it with a knife? Is it a little bit more free flowing and maybe it moves? Maybe it's blue, right? Maybe it's like a light blue and we got some waves going on. Is it a little bit chaotic? Perhaps you have toddlers. As I speak, my toddler is singing a song outside my door. What is the emotional feeling in your home? Now I want you to imagine, because where do emotions come from? They come from humans, right? So I want you to imagine that each person has a specific energetic, frequency that they're putting off into this home. So now, if you're walking through this, apparently we're starting with an exercise today instead of ending with it, but I have one at the end. You already know. I want you to first list off all of the people in your home. Okay. Caregivers, is partner here? Are there children? Is there perhaps an aging parent in the home? Who exists within your immediate home? And then I want you to write down what sort of energetic frequency or feeling or perception, what are they giving off? Are they someone who is always tense? And perhaps that is their main contribution. Are they someone who generally goes with the flow? And so there's more of maybe a mossy green color coming off of them. I don't know. Are they someone who is unpredictable? And so the color that comes to mind for me is red, and it's a little bit sharper and it's scarier, right? What energetic makeup is each person giving off? Now, this is the basis of the yours, mine, and ours framework. It is the understanding that when we're in relationship, there need to be healthy boundaries amongst this energetic material in order for us to move toward our goals, which in a relationship is connection, in order for us to do that in the most efficient way possible. You, at this point, this is your first time hearing me. I really care about results. I really care about efficiency. I believe in doing the work, mastering connection, and moving on with your life. Move on with your life. Go and use these skills to better your life, but don't stay in the self-help world forever, okay? Ask me about my business issues. So that my clients get better. But I believe that there's a way to do this. And one of the quickest ways to do this is to understand that each person's emotional, energetic makeup is made up not only of their current sensations in their body, the thoughts that they are feeling, but also their histories. This is why my work takes into account your history without living there. I need to understand what your energetic makeup is made of. Now I want to really sort of, I'm going to give you like the umbrella. I'm going to give you the big picture, and then we're going to zoom in a little bit, and then we're going to pull back out. Okay. So in a healthy communication and a healthy dynamic, each person understands. They have a full energetic, but like also emotional understanding of what energy they are bringing to the table. Meaning, I'm going to paint this a little bit more, right? For me, I understand that generally I am go with the flow-ish. Go with the flow-ish. I am also very, very aware of how my history impacts my coloring and the energy that I bring into a space, right? Because I've done a lot of work there. I have a lot of awareness about those things. I'm also very aware of how this fluctuates given where I am at in my cycle. So I know that if I am in my luteal phase, I'm giving my partner a heads up that, hey, this is where my hormones are. And that is his cue, because we've had this conversation, to maybe be a little bit kinder, to maybe not take the things that I say if I get really snappy personally, or for him to be prepared to be a little bit more humorous, because this is a tool that works for us. I am also aware I'm going to have a harder time containing. So I know that the energetic composition is a little bit more, it's like leaking out of me a little bit more. And I'm more mindful of how this impacts our home. I get really, really intentional, like even more than usual, about making sure I'm leaning into very gentle but effective exercise regimens, right? Walking is non-negotiable during my luteal phase because it is a night and day difference for the energy I bring into the home. So here's what happens. Here's how this plays out is I go and perhaps I am delivering criticism or feedback to my partner during this moment. Well, he is very aware that the material coming out of me, the energy that I'm bringing, it lacks containment, and it's very reflective of how I feel about myself, right? And so amongst the, I'm going to be kinder, I'm going to be funnier, whatever, he has his guard up, and not in a cold way, but in a very protective way, because he understands during this season, during this moment in my cycle, I'm having a harder time containing. So the material, the content of what I hand him has less to do with him and more to do with where I am at. Here's how this plays out. Okay. He's very aware that his material is his, mine is mine. He holds a boundary, right? He protects himself from this, and he doesn't usually engage, especially if I am a little bit feisty and wild, surprising, I know. And I start talking about the relationship and like, this is our issue and this is always what happens, right? He is very aware this material is not ours. He sees this material is mine because it's very consistent. We've talked about it. We've mapped it out like it. And so what he does is he puts this in a little white board right in the back of his mind. He holds it. I am doing the same thing. And then we come back together. We discuss, hey, is this actually our issue? Something we need to process? Or was it just that I was having a rough week? Right? And we do that usually like when I'm ovulating or whenever the seasons have calmed down a little bit hormonally, or I'm in a better place. This is the power of yours, mine, ours, is I might walk through the door, busting through, right, with this big energy. And instead of meeting where I'm at, he is going to be like, hey, how can I support? And he's not going to play the game of let me sit and complain about our relationship and like freak out. Okay. This is the power of this framework, is it also diffuses me very quickly, and it allows me, it pushes me to go and address the actual issue, which is that I need to go do some deep breathing. I need to go on a stinking walk. I need to go and remember that just because you're having a bad day does not mean you have a bad relationship. Again, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean you have a bad relationship. And like, you don't have to believe everything that your brain tells you, right? Sometimes like she is a slave to the hormones and the feelings and all the things. So this is what this framework is meant to do. So now that I've already like told you a story, but we're going to like swing a little bit here. Okay. I'm going to really paint this picture for you, and I'm going to tell you about Emily and Steve. Okay. So Emily and Steve adore this couple, but I want you to imagine these are two very powerful alpha people who were in relationship with each other, which like you want to talk about a relationship that for me as a psychologist, as therapist, it was always when I had two alphas walk through my office that I was like, we got some work to do. We got some work to do. Usually there's not actually two alphas. One is a little bit more beta and they just don't realize it, but both are certainly identifying as alphas, right? They walk in and one is working at a Fortune 500 corporate company. She is in executive leadership and she is COO. So she is putting out fires all day, but she's also a phenomenal systems-oriented human being who knows how to build a system and work the steps. Okay. Her husband is in financial advising, wealth management world. So his job is also very performance oriented. It is very crisis oriented in that if you were in any kind of sales role within any stretch of capacity, like you are constantly chasing a dopamine hit, that is a part of your job requirement. Okay. They both do very, very well for themselves, right? So, wife is making $300K a year and husband has been at it. He's been at it for a hot minute and he's a white man. Okay. Not to, not to like go there, but like this man is a white man. So he's bringing home at least $450K. He is not where he knows that he will be in 3, 4, 5 years, but like they're very comfortable and money is nothing but a tool to them at this point. It also plays a little bit of God in the way that they orient to it. In that they fear it, they orient to it. How do I keep chasing the next big thing? But there's also this very conscious understanding of they do understand that they have money. They understand it can be used. So it's not so much fear-based until you really get under the hood. Okay. So this is the definition of a high power, high stakes, high pressure couple. This is what I mean when I say that I work with powerhouses. Truly, like this is a story that is made up of so many different stories, but like these individuals, they not only understand pressure, they do not have a choice, they feel, other than to operate under it. And here's the thing is that the more that you have to gain, the more you have to lose. Okay. So they are someone who, and like, so now I'm going to give you my little like therapist take on it. Here's what I see as this couple walks into my office. I see high pressure and almost a slave to dopamine hits, right? I also see two individuals who the way that they are perceived by other people is incredibly important to them. And these individuals, like neither of them have built a sense of identity that is not directly related to what they are doing at work, to how they are delivering, to how they are performing, to their productivity. They have not individuated enough. They're very tied to their job. Right. And at this point, like my stomach just kind of like sinks a little bit. I'm like, oh gosh. Here's the other thing I see. Especially if I had no paperwork, which if you have worked with me, you know that is not an option. I get very up into your business before I will even ever have an onboarding call with you. But I see two individuals who are also probably both oldest children. They are both the heroes, right? Because look at their jobs. Like they are thriving in control, pressure, and fixing things, right? Probably they grew up taking care of mom meaning mom was always in some sort of crisis, or she always needed help, and she just did not have her stuff together, and she leaned on them as a result. And this was framed as like, we're a family, we all stick together, everyone contributes. This is what it is to be a good child, is to be good, take care of your younger sibling, don't be a problem child. And they really just have taken this in to mean, I am helpful. I like to help. This is part of who I am. I enjoy thriving in chaos, and this is how I am. I know how to play. Of course I know how to play. I signed up for a marathon, right? They also probably did not have a present dad, meaning like emotional presence or physical presence. But, and I say this because with this specific couple, there's a real unhealthy orientation to the masculine energy, meaning the energy that is assertive, that is penetrative, that is push, push, push. I need to provide. I need to go and take care of and keep the family safe, right? This is the masculine energy I'm talking about. It's also the same energy that brings new ideas to fruition, right? So at its healthiest, it's very important. But where I see it being an overdrive with these two is that we're making great money, but we are still prioritizing work over our personal relationships. And I know that because they just walked in the door. So there's enough of a pain point that you're ready to like pay someone to come and see what you're not seeing, right? And they're coming in with complaints. They're coming in with, we are so good at figuring things out, and yet we're having the same conversations over and over again. And it's not that there's anything wrong with our relationship, right? And if you're not watching the video, like, my hands are up, like, there's nothing wrong with our relationship. I love this person. We have the best relationship. Please insert therapist smiling a little bit inside and being like, I know it's very important to be viewed as good, as being the best at everything, even at being married. People. But I have these issues. Right. So there's a real fear of admitting that there could actually be something that is wrong here, because that is intolerable. Right. So I also see someone who was probably raised with concepts of all or nothing. They weren't allowed to just fall apart or not have the answer or to get a B or, oh my gosh, heaven forbid, a C. Right. And because they do not have a sturdy sense of self outside of being perfect or needed or running around chaotically, the idea of releasing this control in their relationship is very destabilizing. In fact, 8 times out of 10, what I see is this couple would rather move toward a divorce rather than stay in the messy middle while admitting that they're thinking about a divorce, because they cannot tolerate the all or nothing. Either this relationship is good no matter what, and I'm just barely going to put a toe in the water to say that, like, I'm actually really unhappy and I'm frustrated, or I'm going to be like, and I'm going to go and fast forward and like, here are the divorce papers, because they're stuck in a very adolescent state of mind, right? Think about an adolescent here for a minute. They do not have a fully developed sense of self. Hopefully, if they are moving through adolescence in a healthy way, they are in a space where they're actively exploring that. But this couple that comes in, they're actually emotionally stunted in this area. They've not allowed themselves to explore outside of productivity. Okay. But they're also very self-centered, and they should be. That's the way their brain is wired. That's how they make sense of who they are. That's how they find their sense of identity. But it causes a lot of issues when you're in this space and you're trying to operate in an adult relationship, especially if you don't know that's what's happening, right? I'm also imagining, as I meet this couple, as they sit down on my couch and I'm watching their shoulders not move. They're frozen up, right? That's just the way that they move through the world. And they're kind of leaning forward a little bit. In this particular couple, they're like posturing just a little, right? Like, husband is putting his arms out. He's like poofing out. Wife is like crossing her legs and sitting and making very intense eye contact with me. Like, we are peacocking out here. Okay. Because I want your help, but I also want you to know that I don't actually really need your help. and I actually could do your job better than you, right? Insert God complex. I could also tell you that this couple probably has a very unhealthy relationship with hobbies in that they don't really have one. What they have is a relationship to dopamine and cortisol. So they are probably doing very high intensity exercise regimens. They are probably cold plunging. They are probably biohacking junkies, meaning, and what this really means is they are just always seeking another hit. I can tell you psychologically, they have the profile of an addict, high functioning, but the person who is lost in the addiction, right? They're always chasing this next hit. I can tell you that they are prioritizing cortisol over rest in their life because even the way that they are exercising, it's inconsistent, right? These are the people who are registering for the race and they're like, oh, I registered for a marathon. I haven't really trained, but I'm just going to go like knock it out in like 2 months. And let me tell you something about these people is they're going to do it. Okay. They are actually literally going to run the marathon because no pain, no gain. And it's quote unquote fun to run our bodies into the ground. And it doesn't matter that I can't walk for like a week after that. Who needs it? At least I got it done, right? At least I got the dopamine hit is what I hear. Okay. I can also tell you they are probably consistently overbooked because it feels good, but then they're probably complaining that they're too busy, right? I can tell you that their expectations of themselves are bonkers high. Insert mommy issues. Okay. They are also probably folks who are leaning into the hard conversations because again, they have this internal psyche that naturally orients to actually punish them and to constantly be pushing them harder, never accepting good enough is good enough because this is the mother that they have internalized. Okay. So it's not that they're taking trips for pleasure. It's that they can't say no to the people around them. And then they get in a space of, I don't want to do everything for everyone else. I'm going to go do it myself. Right? So I also see a very developmentally stunted psyche that is walking in the door that thinks it is big and bad. Right? I'm sure this speaks to like my own psyche, but this is part of why I really enjoy working with these people is it absolutely tickles me. And I will tell you, it gets very easy to work with these couples because they are so logical. They're very, very, very logical. Okay. So as I see them sit down, I see the shoulders not move. I see the posturing. Here's like my checklist, right? That I'm going down. And as I listen to them, what I start to notice is that they're both sending information. Now this is Alpha 101, right? If you enjoy power, if you enjoy control, because mom and dad were not emotionally present, because that's where my brain goes to, then you probably really enjoy sending information. So as they start sharing, what's going on, here's my perspective. Well, here's my perspective. What I start to notice is they actually really just both want to talk. They both want to talk, but they also both want to be heard. And there's a real fear around letting go of control because if I do that, what does that mean about me? And then I'm going to take it personal, right? Like, and this is what happens. Well, this person never listens to me and they never listen to my feelings no matter what. And I'm going to paint this out even clearer. So, they sit down, they start talking. And Steve is telling this story of how, he walks in through the door. Yes. Emily walks up and is like, hey, I have this really exciting idea that I want to share with you because let me tell you about Emily. She's obsessed, like personality structure wise, obsessed with doing better, AKA being in a relationship with mom. Hello, narcissistic mother. But she enjoys creating and ideating and all of these things. It's a really precious piece of her. It's one of my favorite things about this person. And so she walks up But Steve feels like, oh, she's coming in hot. She's got all this energy. I just had a really long, stressful day at work. I've got clients, meetings that I'm trying to hit. I've got numbers that I'm trying to hit. On top of that, the team that I'm managing, they're not hitting their numbers. So from a leadership perspective, I'm really shifting a lot of different hats here. And now my wife walks up to me and she's got another idea. Okay. So she walks up and she shares this DIY idea that she has with her partner. And all Steve hears is, now you have to do this. And I want to add to your to-do list. And I don't care about you. I haven't asked you, And in his brain, he's like, I look exhausted. And no one ever asks me how I'm doing. Not what I'm doing, but how I am doing. And here she is adding even more to my to-do list, but I am always busy. I'm always exhausted. No one cares about me. Okay. And then on Emily's side, she's excited. And not only that, but she doesn't actually share her ideas that often within her marriage and her partnership. She usually keeps those in. So not only is she excited, she's also really vulnerable. Okay. And here's what I see is that there are two very uncontained individuals who do not understand what their energetic makeup is in that moment, but also in general, right? I see two individuals who do not understand that their color, the energy they're giving off, is constantly in flow with one another, and they are actually very enmeshed with themselves, meaning like the relationship itself is very enmeshed, as well as they are enmeshed with their mothers. So I want you to picture this, okay? You got mom. She is connected energetically to Steve. Steve doesn't know that. Steve also does not understand that he is energetically connected to mom as well as wife. Emily is energetically connected to mom as well as Steve. And I want you to imagine there's just like this colored mist that is like 5,000 different colors, and it's all running together. Because out here in left field, we have Steve's mom, and maybe she is red. Maybe she's purple. I don't know, whatever. And then we have Emily's mom, and she is blue, and she is purple. And then we have Emily, and then we have Steve, and their own colorings are like yellow and orange. I don't know. Imagine the absolute cluster that it is trying to understand whose energy belongs to who. Because on top of this, we have two people who don't want to admit that they are wrong. On top of that, we have two people who are very deeply disconnected from their bodies and their sensations. And so therefore, how can you walk into this very messy dynamic? Because on top of this, what I see when people say that they're having communication issues and they can't figure something out, and it's two very smart people, right? Keep in mind, Fortune 500 company, and this guy over here is making $450 in wealth management, and he's just getting started. These people are smart. They know how to make money. They know how to work a system. They know what they're doing, right? But yet, so you have all of this intelligence, but yet when it comes to the most prized asset that they have in their life, which you would think is a marriage and a relationship, they are still not getting the results that they want. This tells me they are disconnected from their greatest asset, which is their own self-awareness. Keep in mind what I told you about this person, is that they pride themselves on being someone who knows, period. Now, who knows themselves, who knows the room, who knows how to fix things, who knows how to move forward. You fill in the blank, but they pride themselves on knowing. My brain, right? My licensed psychologist, therapist-y brain goes to, cool, they have a very unhealthy relationship, really truly with God, but also their mother, because someone came into their life and said, I know better than you. And I know everything. Okay. I'm actually planning on recording an episode that is are all high performers raised by narcissistic mothers? Because this is where the narcissistic mother comes into play, okay? A narcissist believes that they are judge and jury. If you have this perception that you know everything in a relationship, like ding, 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 then your narcissistic gene trait, because we all have narcissism, is inflamed. It's running rampant and it's probably causing issues in your relationships. Okay. So if you have this idea of, I know everything, but actually under the surface, it is an absolute cluster of all these different colors and no one actually knows what goes where. Now I want you to imagine these two people trying to have a conversation and sort something out. Okay. On top of this, both of these people are regressed. So we don't actually only have, and like, if you have your pen and paper, I want you to like map this out. We not only have mom and dad who are present here, we also have a little and a teen, meaning like inner parts, sense of self, right? And they have different colors and they're all coming to the table too. Guys, it's a mess. It is an absolute mess. And we wonder why we keep having the same conversations over and over again, or why the therapist who says, and how does that make you feel? And then looks at the other person and says, and how does that make you feel? And then they turn around and how does that make you feel? Like, we wonder why that's not effective. We wonder why that takes forever, if it ever works. Okay. It's because there's so much energetic material in the space and we don't understand that it actually all has a home. Okay. So fast forward, they're telling me that they have tried to have this conversation. And when this happens, he gets angry because his feelings don't ever matter. And she's really hurt because he starts poking holes in her idea and says, this is why this is not ever going to make sense. These are the issues that I see in your plan. From his perspective, he is trying to save himself the grief. He's trying to save himself the time. More specifically, he's trying to regulate because he's very, very dysregulated already. He doesn't realize he's trying to do that by controlling his wife, by shutting her down, right? Really what he's saying is, I am overstimulated. And what she is saying is, I just wanted to feel seen for a moment. So amongst all of this, as I'm listening, the other thing I add to my list is like, these people profoundly do not understand healthy communication, which is going to be a real bummer to let them know because they think they do. And also they have no idea what they need. They have no idea what they need. They have no idea what they want. Okay. Now insert yours, mine, ours framework. Keep in mind what this framework does. This framework is all about putting the energetic material in its rightful home. It is about assigning appropriate accountability for each person so that we can move forward in the most effective way possible. Because I can tell you 8 out of 10 times the material and content that we bring to our partner is more reflective of content and issues we have going on internally versus an actual relational dynamic or concern or project. So let's paint this out, okay? Yours, mine, and ours is about assigning energetic responsibility. Let's start with yours. In this situation, if our point of view is Emily, if we're walking in, we just shared this idea with our husband, we're super excited, and he just starts coming at me with why this isn't going to work, or why this is not a good idea, or what we need to fix, you're immediately feeling shut down, right? And I'm like watching it as she's sharing the story. Her face starts to fall. Her eyes start to tear up a little bit. She crosses her arms across her chest just a little bit more. And I can like watch her just start to shut down. Okay. So in this instance, yours from Emily's perspective means, what is Steve's to deal with? This is the yours. Okay. In this moment, she starts to feel really shut down. She starts to feel like nothing she shares is ever good enough. She starts to share that no one cares about her feelings. And I don't understand why this is the case. And why can't I just do something that I want to do? And then she's confused because I don't get it. I just wanted to share an idea and I was really excited about it. And of course, there's going to be things to work on and there's logistics to think about. I just wanted to feel connected. So why am I having these emotions? That's because that's not her material, right? That is uncontained energetic material that she is energetically absorbing and picking up from Steve, right? Think about that list. No, nothing I do is good enough. That's how Steve is feeling. I never get to do what I want to do. That is Steve's material. That is like his victim mindset, right? I am shutting down and I'm overwhelmed and I just like that is his. Okay. In my brain, as I am listening to Emily walk through this experience for herself, what sets this alarm bell off for me is that she's feeling confused. Okay, confusion is like ding, ding, ding. There is some energetic material that is not being appropriately allocated or is not being appropriately understood and put in its appropriate boxes. And something is like somewhere, someone is picking up material that is not theirs. Because I can tell you, feelings don't always have to make sense, but typically they do. Okay, nothing about what she said speaks to someone who would be feeling like nothing they do is ever good enough, right? Now there could be a little glimmer of this. She could be regressed and her littles are in the page, but we're not going to get into that. We're really focusing on yours, mine, and ours. But as she's listing out these thoughts, and so here's what I want you to be thinking about. What is your thought process? What stories specifically are you telling yourself? And don't be afraid to just write them all down. So here's the exercise. I want you to write out the last argument that you had with your partner where you left just feeling confused. I want you to write down what happened. And then I want you to write down all the stories you had in your head, as well as all of the emotions. And then ask yourself, based on this situation, which of this just doesn't it just doesn't make sense. And not in a cutting yourself off from your body or your thoughts or your feelings sort of way, but like genuinely in this situation, logically, it doesn't make sense that I would be feeling this way. And then I want you to ask yourself, is it possible that my partner was thinking and feeling these things and it wasn't mine? Because here's what happens. So Emily realizes that this material is not actually hers. And so what do? We close our eyes, we give it a color, we picture the energy that is inside of her body because she's absorbed it. And then we blow it out through her mouth, right? And we imagine handing it back to her partner. We imagine handing it back to Steve. When this happens, she gains more access, more understanding of what is actually happening in her body. Okay, this is why we start with yours. What inside of us is not actually ours to carry. So then I'm asking her, now what are you feeling? Well, now she can identify that I'm feeling really hurt. And I'm feeling defeated. I'm not sure how to get the result that I'm wanting, but also this is reminding me of how nothing was ever good enough for my mom. So ding, ding, ding. Now we have moved into the mine part of the framework because your history is your responsibility. Your history, it is no one else's job to make you feel better. Despite whatever mom and dad did, you are not the victim. It is no one else's job to make those things better except for you. Now, we can have corrective experiences with other people. We can advocate for ourselves in ways that will hopefully help to tend to this wound, but ultimately that is your job, not even your partner's job. And it is certainly not their job to read your mind because so far as I know, no one is actually capable of reading minds, right? That is a God complex right there. So it is her job to find an appropriate container to go and process the fact that, it seems like this is a situation that is reminding me of my history, right? I'm starting to project my mom onto you. That is mine. I need to go journal. I need to go talk to a therapist. I need to go find that sensation in my body. I need to write a letter to mom and confront her, not try to change her, but confront her, give her back, right? The shame or the frustration, whatever it is that you're feeling, that is hers. And then asking yourself what is happening for my littles, this younger piece of me, or my teenager, right? If they are feeling as though all of their ideas get shut down, right? My question to that is, why do you keep giving away your power? Like, you are a grown adult. You don't actually need anyone's permission. You may want someone to join you, but FYI, they may not ever want to join you in the way that you would like them to. Relationships are about compromise. They are also about owning our own internal authority. So, while it may feel good and the fantasy is that your partner is on board for everything that you want to do, the reality is that may not happen. And that is actually a much healthier understanding of what adult relationship looks like versus this young idealized version that my partner's going to be on board with every single thing that I do, right? So now Emily has identified, okay, I've got a parent wound over here. I need to go deal with that. I need to go journal about that. On top of that, I'm actually realizing that I have a little who feels like she is not listened to. So now I need to go pull out a picture of my 5-year-old and ask her, what is it that you need from me? And chances are she is going to say, hey, freaking prioritize me in the way that a 5-year-old needs to be prioritized. Okay? You need to play with her. And not with your partner, not with your kids, but like by herself. Go get a toy. Because this is going to position you as parent, you as internal authority. She also needs her body to be taken care of. She needs to be moving her body in a healthy way. She needs to be feeding her body in a healthy way. She needs to be resting. She needs to be prioritizing her sleep. And if there are issues with any of those things, they need to be tended to by you as the internal authority, as team captain, as the person who you are asking her to trust. Okay. And then you have probably like teenager, right? So that is now your job. That is your primary goal, right? We are like unfreezing the still frame here. We're coming back into the situation as I'm listening. I'm giving this feedback. And literally what I have told clients before is we're not talking about this again until both of you go to your corners and you go deal with your own material. Sift through it. Let's put everything where it goes. And then you both come back and then we will decide, is this an actual couples issue? And only then can we understand what, and this is the hours part of the framework, only then can we really understand what ours dynamic actually is. What is the actual issue? Is it disconnection? Is it collaboration? Is it shared meaning, right? Chances are, and with this specific situation, there actually wasn't a couples issue. There was two people who were not owning their own energetic material and were coming into a conversation about a project, and both parties were dysregulated. Both parties pointed the finger at the other person and said, you're the issue. No, you're the issue. No, you're the issue. And now it's easier to say that the relationship is the issue because at least it's not me. Keep in mind, these are two people who pride themselves on being seen as good and the hero and the fixer, even if they're not going to admit this out loud. Internally, this is very important to them. So, turns out whenever they came back and they were like, okay, I was projecting mom. I really needed to take some radical accountability for the fact that I am stuck in a victim mindset, which means my little just needs more attention. When I did that and I came back, there actually wasn't an issue here. When Steve went and did these things for himself, he was able to come back and say, hey, you're not actually my mom. Always coming at me, always telling me that I'm not good enough. I can hear that this is your idea. This sounds like a lot of work. to be honest, I'm pretty tapped out. I want to spend time with you, but I'm not actually open to spending time with you in this way. If you want to do this, you have to take the lead. Now, let me just tell you, the amount of times that I have heard this in my own personal relationship, oh my gosh, it does not feel good to hear. And this is something I hear often in my own personal relationship is like, if you want to go do that, that's your idea. I love you. I support you. I will not be investing energy in it. I don't have it to give. And if I do that, I'm going to resent you. Guys, if you want to be in a healthy relationship and you really want to be taking accountability, you have to be ready for the fact that your partner's going to say no. And it's not personal. In fact, it's very loving. And if it feels personal, you need to go have a chat about all the things that mom and dad did not do for you, because it is not your partner's job to join you in every single project. It is not your partner's job to say every single idea that you have is a good one. Right? You want a partner who is not a passive little lapdog. You want someone who's honest. You want someone who shows up as themselves. And so if something is feeling personal for me as therapist, that's like, ding, 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 we're regressed. There's material that is mine in the mine category that you need to go handle. So here's what this could look like real time with this couple, right? So instead of spiraling into, you never listen to me, you never take my feelings into account, I can never say anything, and Emily saying, oh my gosh, you never support my ideas, you were never just like supportive of me. Instead, what happens is you both come in, this rupture happens, and then Steve is able to say, hey, I am exhausted and I'm actually projecting my mom right now. That's not yours. But I'm not in a place where I can actually have this conversation. It has nothing to do with you or your idea, but I'm feeling really tapped out. And I actually need to be taking better care of my body. And I can't afford to give more capacity to a project that's not my idea before I go and start investing in myself. Also, I need to go like deal with my mom stuff. I'm going to go do that and I'll be back. Like, let's come back to this conversation tomorrow. Emily says, this hurts. This is painful. I was really excited. I was really wanting you to be on board, but I acknowledge that like, that's also partially a wound from my own history. My mom was never on my team and my dad was never present. And I was really putting myself out there and I felt really vulnerable by sharing this idea. So it makes sense to me that you need to go prioritize yourself. This conversation has exposed this reality, and I'm going to go sit with my little, because it's not your job to always be supportive of me. I don't want that. I want your honesty. So I'm going to go and handle that. And yes, tomorrow sounds great. They come back. And then here's what I would add as my own frame, right? What is it that you need from this conversation, and whose role is what? Once we've walked through yours, mine, ours, once on all the energy is like in its boxes, okay? Next question for the actual relationship and like dynamic conversation is there are 2 roles in every single conversation. I always tell my clients, I want you to think about playing any kind of sport. And I'm not a sports person. I don't know why I always go to sport. I don't know why I always use sports as a metaphor, but it works really well. As far as I know, you can only be offense or defense unless you are, my daughter is about to start soccer and she's like 3.5. It's going to be so cute. My husband is going to be coaching. I'm like very excited. And also I expect chaos. I expect nothing but chaos on this field. Okay. They are playing offense and defense, all of the things. But once you are on like a more established team, we understand what the goal is. Typically there's someone standing on defense and there's someone standing on offense. Everyone has a role. And if you want like kudo points and you really want an activity, I will actually tell clients, go make a sign that says listener. My job is to listen. And I actually want the words to like be facing you, not your partner, so that you can lift it up. And it has like high level, here's my job. Okay. There's a listener and there's a sender and receiver, however you want to phrase it. Okay. The only person who gets to insert new ideas into the conversation is the sender. for two alphas, for Emily and Steve, they're like throwing me daggers, like, you've lost your mind. Or they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. So I have them do this activity where they're both wearing these signs. One is sender, one is receiver. In this specific conversation, what I would have liked to have seen, the play as coach that I would like to see happen, is Emily walk up and say, hey, and she's wearing her sender sign, okay? So that it is very clear to Steve, she would like to share an idea. She walks up, she hands him the listener sign, and she says, hey, babe, I have something I would like to share with you. Do you have space for that right now, or should we schedule another time? First and foremost, what's happening in this situation is you are containing yourself. If you're the person who always feels like you're getting shut down and everyone's out to get you and your feelings don't matter, you have a containment issue 10 out of 10 times. Okay. So honoring the fact that it's not his job to listen to you, no matter how excited you are, not his freaking job when he walks in the door. He gets to be stressed. He gets to be tired. He gets to have a moment, right? So we're walking up, we're honoring that this is true and saying, hey, do you have capacity? From the listener's perspective, right? From Steve's perspective, he has a choice. He can put that sign on that says listener and accept that his job is now to validate her emotions and share what he's feeling about it. And maybe even just validate, just mirror. Or he can choose to say, I'm going to put that sign on. I'm going to engage in this conversation in an hour or in 2 hours. I had a really long day. I don't have capacity, but I would like to return to it at this time. So important things here is that she's asking for permission. She's also asking for what she needs. She needs emotional presence. She needs a listener. She doesn't need someone who is going to start sending ideas. Okay. And she's opening the gate and inviting him through versus walking through the gate and being like, I'm here, let's do this. Right? That is what a 5-year-old does. Ask me how I know. We're not carrying that energy into our marriage. If she's feeling that kind of energy, that is a mine category material. You need to go deal with that. Go have a heart-to-heart with your inner child, right? So now for him, he needs to be connected enough to his body to understand, do I actually have capacity to be a listener? Especially if my little alpha default is to send. Do I have it in me to only reflect what I'm hearing and not start fixing things? Yes or no? And if not now, then when, right? So he has the opportunity to say, not now, how about in an hour? They come back, they have this conversation. Lo and behold, all Emily wanted was to feel heard. So when Steve is able to say, what I'm hearing from you is that you're really excited about this project and you've really been thinking about this. And for you, this means investing in our home. It means investing in ourselves, but I'm also hearing that it's really important that you're putting yourself first. And I'm really proud of you for that. Am I getting that right? And she says, yes, crushed it, babe. And then he is able to say, okay, cool. Let's continue the conversation. Because again, at this moment in time, Emily knows that all she needs is to feel heard, right? That is the end goal that both parties, offense and defense, are heading toward. If she has felt heard, then we have made a point or goal or whatever. That's it. Okay, that is all we are looking for. And then at another moment in time, we come back and we say, okay, let's really flesh this out. And at that point, Emily might say, now I would really like some of your ideas and your thoughts, because here's the thing, guys, we know who we're married to. We're very aware. If I had $1 for every time I've walked up to my husband and said, I have this idea, but I, shockingly, am a jump first, think second kind of person. I know when I am saying something that might be way too big. And I also know when I just want to freaking go do it, because I'm tending to my 5-year-old and I'm tending to my little, and this is an idea that's important to me. I also know when I want input. I know my own mind. The yours, mine, ours framework takes into account the understanding that we actually do know what we need and what we want for ourselves and within relationships. It's just about clearing the energetic space enough to where you can listen and understand that's what it is, right? So some red flags that it's time to implement this framework is confusion. Confusion about why you're feeling something typically speaks to material that is not yours. You're picking it up for someone else. And here's the thing, if you hold it for them, they are never going to deal with it. Okay, so we really need to practice giving that back. Urgency is another big one, right? If it feels like I need to figure it out right now, typically, again, that is speaking to a regression and it's speaking to material that is just not yours. Now, when there's a groundedness about the content of, I feel as though, I don't know, I'm not heard in our relationship, coming back to Steve and Emily, right? As therapist, as I'm listening, when I hear someone say, and like their shoulders are relaxed, their face is softened, they're not turned away from their partner, they're turned toward them, and maybe they have like a hand out and they say, pretty consistently, I'm feeling as though I'm not heard by you. I would really like to change this. So their tone is a lot softer. It's not intense. It's not judgy. It isn't sharp, right? That speaks to an hours bucket. Usually it's very grounded, or at least it starts that way, unless we keep ignoring it, right? Usually there's curiosity that is present. Usually there is, I'm open to different ways to solve this issue. But this is pretty consistently showing up for me, and I'd like to work on it. It doesn't matter if we do it today or tomorrow, right? Again, there's no urgency. That is a very solid hour issue. Those are the things that you are going to be processing and talking about with your partner. If you want to make progress, totally your business. But it is not your job to fix each other. It is not your job to make it better, right? Other red flags for me as therapist is I am listening to couples, or more often I'm listening to the woman really share her experience, is I feel bad and I really don't know why, or I feel bad about this. And it's something like this situation where all you were doing was sharing an idea. All you were doing was sharing your feeling. I feel bad, to me, is a red flag for carried shame, meaning it's shame that is not yours to be holding and processing and all of the things, right? Other red flags that we have an energetic composition issue here is chronic emotional responsibility. So consistently feeling like it's my job to figure out what happened, what went wrong. And I'm really tired because of this, right? And then here's the other thing I really want to speak to, right? Because a lot of times what I hear is, I'm just an empath. I'm a highly sensitive person. And so I just pick up on all these feelings. False. You have experienced developmental trauma. You had a caregiver who was not very boundaried about their emotions. They probably poured it all over you. Okay. There's a difference between empathy, which is the ability to sit next to someone and maybe even offer a hand. And I'm here for you, but I'm also over here. I'm my own person. Versus absorption and enmeshment, which is I'm going to sit, if not underneath you, and I'm going to help you carry this thing. I'm going to sit right next to you. And I'm going to help actually shoulder this issue, even though you never asked me to. And even though it's not mine to do it. And even though I'm running myself into the ground in service of doing that. Guys, as adults, we are responsible for walking our own journeys. We can walk them next to the person that we care about, but it's not ours to carry. And if you start carrying someone's boulder for them, they are never going to have the experience of carrying it themselves. So don't you go and get crabby and upset when they continue to function like a child, if you're the one who taught them that's how to do it. Okay? So my encouragement for you is to really take stock of what does the energetic material in your home look like from your perspective. And then, in the best way to master yours, mine, and ours as a framework, and to get really quick at it, because you might be listening to this and you're like, woman, this is going to take longer than 60 seconds. The reality is, once you build this framework, like, no, it's not. No, it's not, because you get so in touch with your own sensations, your own thoughts, your own realities, that it becomes very, very clear when someone else's has entered your body, and you get very quick at giving it back. The other thing is, you're not marrying, like, the person that you are married to is not a different person every single day. The more you spend time with this material and this way of viewing your relationships a little bit more strategically, the more you see the patterns, the more that you see the consistency, the more that you understand this is simply the person that I am in relationship with. And this also gets a lot quicker the more that you go and actually integrate your unconscious material. So unfinished business with mom, dad, littles, like, it doesn't stay messy forever, right? When you do it the right way, that material actually shrinks. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what it is like as you go and you take stock of what energetic material is in our home, what is potentially a little bit unconscious, and in what ways are you using this to confront these consistent issues that you're having in your relationships, with these conversations that just feel like they keep coming up. Share so that your neighbor knows that this is helpful. And if you found this episode helpful, please leave a review or share it with a woman that you think needs to hear this message too, because truly it helps this podcast, and we are all about reciprocal relationships. Okay, I hope that this episode was helpful for y'all, and I will catch you on the next one.
Alrighty, friend, that is all for today's episode of the Aligned Powerhouse podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And do me a favor, if this episode resonated, I want you to share it with another powerhouse woman in your life who is ready to lead and love from a place of self-trust. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a quick rating or review. It really does help more women find this work. New episodes drop every week. Until then, lead with self-trust and let yourself be seen.